Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today we're back here at Founders Forge and I'm going to do a little bit more work on the town. Some of this has probably already taken place on a live stream. If you guys managed to catch that yesterday, thank you so much if you turned up. But I'm recording this right before so you guys can see the progress, and once the progress has been updated, don't worry, we're going to cover everything that we did in the live stream in this video. But I kind of want to do a little bit more planning around here. I want to plan out where certain like houses and shops and different kind of buildings for the town are going to go. This right here is basically going to be the Blacksmiths or the Toolsmiths Guild. And we might even move a couple of blacksmith villages in, as some people have suggested in the comments. But right now this building is looking like an empty shell and I really want to get it finished up before I do anything more on it. So that's what we're going to do in the live stream that has already happened yesterday, like I said. Now, I'm letting it get dark because I wanted to cover one thing that somebody posted in the comments of my previous video about lightning strikes and getting mob heads. So thank you to Anders, who pointed this out in the comments, to say that if you wear a mob head that you've collected from a creeper, a zombie, or a skeleton, that type of mob will actually have a 50% chance of not spotting you if you get within a certain radius. Like it makes it more difficult for creatures to spot you if you're within up until about 8 blocks away from them, when it becomes really obvious that you're not one of their own. But that is something I absolutely never knew about this before, mainly because of how difficult it is to acquire mob heads, aside from wither skeleton skulls, which are difficult to acquire for a different reason. But the wither skeleton skull doesn't have the same effect on wither skeletons. They're still going to spot you no matter what. But I kind of wanted to test this out because, for a start, sneaking also reduces the likelihood that a mob is going to spot you. Obviously it decreases your movement speed as well, so that's something to bear in mind. If you're actually trying to get the drop on a mob, it might be a little bit difficult. But yeah, with the skeletons walking around in the distance and probably some creepers here and there, that zombie's already spotted me because he knows what's up. He can probably smell me from miles and miles away. But I wanted to test this out because this is genuinely an effect that I've never seen. And obviously this guide is all about me teaching you guys about Minecraft, but occasionally in the comments you guys have something to teach me, and that is one of the fantastic things about this game. I feel like it's almost impossible to know absolutely everything about Minecraft, which is why people tend to specialize. Some people tend to prefer building or redstone, whatever their preferred kind of knowledge base is for this game. They tend to stick to that a little bit, and trying to teach you guys absolutely everything about this game is quite a big task. So the fact that you guys can still teach me some stuff about Minecraft is testament to how awesome and fascinating this game is. So there's a group of creepers over there. I'm going to try and get as close to them as I can while sneaking and see how long it takes them to spot me, because this is quite an interesting experiment. That guy over there would probably have spotted me already if I wasn't wearing a creeper head. Now look, that zombie is doing the same thing. That zombie is clearly sneaking up on me. Likewise, this spider. I'm going to get knocked into a ravine if I'm not careful. Nope, you're going to get knocked into a ravine instead. Haha! Let's see if any of these guys will recognize me when I get to within a certain radius. That creeper would definitely be coming for us right now. But no, it looks like they haven't seen me at all. This is fascinating. This is something I've genuinely never tried before. And look, we're getting this close to a creeper and he hasn't even seen me yet. This zombie has clearly seen me. I'm going to see quite how close we can get to this creeper before he spots us. That's incredible. That is so cool. Look, he's looking right at me. He's not coming towards me. He's not hissing, hasn't even spotted me. Tremendous. Now if I stand up and I'm not sneaking anymore, yep, now he's seen me. Hey! But that is genuinely something I never knew about Minecraft before. So thank you, Anders, for pointing that out. Thank you to anybody else who happened to point that out in the comments of the video, because, wow, I am having a revelation right now. And with the other stuff that we've covered in this series before, this mechanic isn't completely unheard of. Remember when we went to the end and you can use a pumpkin to stop Endermen from aggroing on you? It's kind of a similar concept, but the idea that these creepers sort of recognize me as another creeper because I'm wearing a creeper head is, frankly, really cool. Speaking as a builder, it would be fantastic if creepers ignored me more often, frankly, but I think it's not really worth the sacrifice of taking off my respiration and unbreaking protection helmet if I end up building underwater or anything like that. We don't have to worry too much about creepers, so I'm not exactly going to be wearing a creeper head 100% of the time. But it's good to know that maybe zombies wouldn't aggro on you if you were wearing a zombie head, or skeletons would try to shoot you a little bit less if you had a skeleton skull on you instead. That's really very cool. All right, anyway, we're going to get on with this episode now. We're going to do a little bit more building around here, a little bit more town planning, and I will see you guys on the other side. All right, welcome back. So I think this is going to be the Blacksmiths Guild. I feel like a couple of things that I wanted to do with the inside of this kind of made it the Blacksmiths rather than the Toolsmiths, but we'll get to that in a second. I want to give you guys a bit of a tour. So the interior of this is not finished yet, but there are a few touches I wanted to add with you guys on camera so we can see exactly what's going on here. So we enter the front door, we have like a nice little reception area. This bit here is probably where the receptionist would stand. We might even move a villager in here in a minecart or something like that. We can get a head blacksmith who maybe I can come in here and trade with if I want to, but this is largely for the kind of story element of things rather than being like an official villager trading area. So like unlike my villager trading hall that I have over in the industrial area, this is going to be more of like an aesthetic kind of thing. Something for fun and immersion and that kind of stuff. So this is going to be the reception area, and you have a few different directions you can go. One of the things I wanted to do with this building, because it's so big, is give you like multiple ways around the build. So I figure what we could do is go to the left here first of all, because down here there are going to be some offices and some work areas. There's still a lot of storage around here, and I will probably remove these chests, but right now they have a lot of my build materials in, and the shulker boxes and stuff down here likewise. I figured there would be a few anvils around the place just because that's the stuff the blacksmiths are going to be using, their tools of the trade, and I put the creeper head down here for now. But what I want to do ultimately is probably put that up on a wall somewhere as though it's like a trophy that maybe the head blacksmith, the person who founded the guild, maybe they're an adventurer and they beheaded a creeper in some kind of like fierce fight or something like that, and then they can have that on the wall as their kind of trophy and proof that they are the top dog in this particular neighborhood. So around here, we've got a few fun little details. I like to put flower pots around the place because it lends a little bit of a different color, a bit of life to the area, and kind of having plants and stuff around is kind of nice for an interior build. I don't go crazy with them, but I put them around here and there. You can also use pistons as side tables. The fact that they're kind of sunk into the floor like that gives them a little bit of depth, makes them feel a bit more interesting, and that kind of central piston pushing bit, whatever you'd call that. I guess that is technically the piston. And yeah, the piston head there kind of makes it for a nice little kind of side table look, as what I like to think anyway. And around here, yeah, we can have a few more like desks and workbenches and stuff like that. Right now, this is not 100% complete as a room because I've been using it to sleep occasionally to get through the night and so forth. In here, this little office is one that's slightly more complete. It's a little bit smaller towards the back of the build, and I've put in stuff like paintings, which are very easy to make, just one wool and 8 sticks, so those are nice to add a touch of color to the place, a bit of decoration. And I've put in these iron bars at floor level outside, but inside the rooms. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but they just add like a kind of feeling that you can see out to the outside world. They'd be letting natural light in from the outside, and if you're walking around the town outside, you can actually kind of see down into this room, so you get the sense that there is like a sub-basement floor to this place, and it's kind of cool to have that like little glimpse into the build from the outside instead of this just being a full stone wall. Around the outside here, we've got stairs just to kind of bring the ceiling in a little bit at the edges. And here we have a little storage cupboard just for a couple of chests to make use of the little alcove that was there originally. Another anvil here by the door. A little bit of carpet on the floor, nothing too special. And we could do something else with this space here, but I wanted to make sure that there is still like a nice flow as you walk through the build. So obviously there's going to be a decent like amount of space that you can walk around in without bumping into stuff and making it awkward to get through doorways and that kind of thing. It is also possible, as of 1.13, to put item frames flat on surfaces instead of just on the walls. They didn't used to be able to be placed on the floor or ceiling, but now that is possible, so you can basically put any items you want in a desk situation here, and I've been using these item frames kind of to put occasional bits and pieces, like the sign, for example, because it's got writing on it. It kind of looks like maybe they're kind of inscribing something on this sign to put it up somewhere, that kind of thing. And a few little fun decorations that you can do with torches to add an item frame behind the torch and add a stair kind of rotated so it looks like it's kind of holding the torch in place like a torch bracket. A lot of people have been doing this for a long time, and it's always been a great look for it. You can do the same thing with slabs. Anything that sort of juts out from the item frame like that usually makes for a pretty good torch holder, and that's something I'll be doing throughout the rest of the build once I finalize the lighting in here. but I think I want to do a whole different episode on how to conceal lighting within a build or outside. There's like a bunch of different things you can do that will make it look like there aren't just torches attached to all of the walls and on the floors, especially because it's a little bit awkward when you've got like torches just kind of hanging out in the middle of the floor here. It doesn't really feel all that immersive to have an open flame in the middle of the room exactly where you would come in. But for practical reasons, for, preventing mob spawning and stuff, that's kind of one of the best things you can do. Now, on this opposite side, we have a little storage cupboard here that doesn't contain anything other than a torch, because doors will actually let light through, which is kind of cool. Like, if I turn on the F3 debug info here, you can see that says we get 13 block light right here, which is basically because we're standing right next to a torch, even though the door is shut. That's one way you can conceal lighting right there. You can have that one for free before we do the actual video about it. But yeah, around here, we're going to have a little waiting room of sorts, perhaps something like that, maybe a little lounge area where customers to the Blacksmiths Guild could wait to have an appointment with one of the blacksmiths themselves. We've got a little bit of greenery around here as well. It's nice to find ways to fit little kind of potted plants and leaves and stuff into builds. And in this case, I've got this little sort of planter set up where maybe these are supposed to be vines creeping up this indoor trellis, or maybe they're just meant to be, a controlled bush type of thing that's in here, like a little potted shrub. This room here I have not really done a great deal with. I've just sort of set up where the entrance is going to come in from the courtyard outside, which we'll go and take a look at in a second. But around here, yeah, I figure I will do something quite similar to the offices on the opposite side. I just haven't really figured out what I want to do with this room yet, but there are a few different things we could do. Through here and through this iron door, which I decided on the stream I was going to do here because this is going to be the storage room, and I wanted it to be a little bit more protected feeling. Like, I wanted the iron doors to be there because you can't just right-click on them to open them, which I guess in Minecraft terms implies that somebody wouldn't just be able to walk in. It's a kind of staff-only entrance and exit kind of thing, I suppose, even though there are buttons on the wall that allow us to activate it. But iron doors, unlike wooden doors, can only be activated using a redstone current. So having a button on any of the surrounding blocks will allow you to open that up, as well as pressure plates on the floor and that kind of thing. But it's kind of nice to have that as a feature in the world. Makes it look a little bit more secure. So in this room, I just have an assemblage of chests designed to be kind of storage crates. We've got crafting tables. We've got an ender chest or two here and there in the item frames, a couple of little cubby storage things like this, and some note blocks, because I figure they kind of make for a nice little crate sort of style thing. The pistons likewise, and the same trick that I did down on the wharf over by the sugarcane farm with these trapdoors, creating a barrel for storing water, or it could even be a sink kind of thing so that people can wash their hands in here or something. I don't know, maybe it's a utility space perhaps more than an organized storage area, because everything here looks pretty haphazard. But we're using trapdoors as shelves, so we can put some chests up here on shelves, and the whole place feels a little bit cluttered, but that feels kind of nice for the environment, I think. And I do need to finish off a few of these like wall sections here where I've just kind of left the natural materials that were here when we set this whole thing up. Remember, this side of the building is actually kind of covered over by a hill, so it's something that we don't need to worry too much about looking like from the outside, but on the inside we might want to swap a few materials out here and there. So let's go out to the courtyard, because this actually looks really nice now with the walls of this building all built up, and from here you can kind of see in through here, but you don't get to look into the building itself. I've kind of done rows of slabs up there that while you can see through them once you're up there, it kind of adds texture to the building, and you can't really see through them from any of the angles of the outside unless you're actually up on the roof in the first place. But it makes it look like it's got a ridged texture to the wall up there without it being completely closed off and not letting any natural light through. Although in terms of the actual mechanical light, in terms of the light level in Minecraft, it doesn't let anything through at all, because slabs don't currently do that. In future they will, but for right now they don't. And each of these doorways here leads down to an individual office, or in this case the storage room, which is something that I really like that as a thing. We've also got a back entrance to the reception area like so that we can just hop through here and be right at the front door. So all in all, I think the ground floor of this place is coming together really well. It's not quite finished, like I said. I'm going to add a few other touches off camera, but I think for now that's looking pretty good. Now up on the next floor, I've left some of this unfinished because I wanted to demonstrate some of the stuff that we're putting into this build. So we've got a large open space up here, which once again could be divided into different offices. And coming around here to the front of the build, we have a nice walkway where you can look down over the entrance, and I kind of imagine that the guy who runs this place would be looking down at the receptionist from here, looking down at the customers and making sure that all of the business was proceeding as planned. Over here, I'm actually going to install some neat little decorative armor stand areas, which I will explain a little bit more about in a minute. But armor stands are not something we've done a huge amount with in this series so far, and they are worth looking into because they can be extremely powerful in the right hands. Let me go into that in a little bit more detail soon. But around here, I've got a really great ceiling texture, and this is one that I come back to time and time again. These are daylight sensors, or daylight detectors, they're actually now called in Java Minecraft. I think they're still called daylight sensors in Bedrock and the other versions, and I kind of knew them as daylight sensors for the longest time, but actually looking at the item now, they're called daylight detectors. And you make those by placing 3 wooden slabs, 3 quartz, and 3 glass in a crafting grid, and I think I should have all of the bits for that so I can demonstrate by making some. I've got a little bit of quartz. I've had to go back and forth to the nether a bunch of times to get enough quartz for these, but yeah, daylight detector. Weird. I always thought they were called daylight sensors, but these things have a fantastic bottom half texture here. They're actually a redstone component that is designed, as the name suggests, to detect whether or not it is daylight, and as a result, they can power a redstone contraption by giving off a redstone signal if it detects that it is daytime or alternatively nighttime. You can kind of switch between 2 different modes and it turns into a moonlight detector instead of a daylight detector. In order to function properly, I think they do need to have access to the open sky so they can see what time of day it is, but indoors here, without any redstone components around, and I do have a couple of pistons up there, but the pistons are all facing inwards and daylight detectors can't be pushed, so it's not a problem. These actually make a really great ceiling tile texture. It's a different kind of color to, say, dark oak wood slabs. It's got a different sort of shade of color, which is and different to spruce slabs and that kind of thing as well. It blends quite nicely with the dark oak wood, I find. It's almost got a chocolate bar sort of texture when you look at it, and I use these as ceiling tiles quite a lot. They are very, very expensive though. I mean, you're talking 3 slabs, 3 glass blocks, and 3 quartz just to make one of these things. So this room represents quite a significant investment, and they're not exactly slab sized, are they? They're a little bit smaller than that. I'll grab one out of the ceiling here and show you a comparison because they're just a couple of pixels smaller in terms of their size, and that means that they don't necessarily act the same way slabs do a lot of the time. In fact, when we come up here, you'll see that I've actually slabbed off this whole section. Oh, if I could actually get up there in the first place, that'd be great. There we go. I didn't want to hurl myself against the opposite wall, but I guess we're going to do that. So yeah, I've actually slabbed off this whole section, a half slab up on the next block, because you can't put these in the same block space as a daylight sensor. But this area is completely empty at the moment, and considering this floor is entirely made of bottom half slabs, there's really not a great deal that we can do about that. Unless I wanted to raise the entire floor by another slab, I can't really build a huge amount up here, so we're probably going to leave this place empty for the most part. I think once it's decorated a little bit downstairs, we don't need to worry too much about what's up here for the purposes of immersion and stuff like that. We could maybe put some stuff around here just so it looks like there's something when we go past in the windows, or if there's a house built out here that can see in, maybe we'll decide to put something up here, but for now, I think it is good enough. And having this entire floor at half block height means that no mobs are going to spawn up here because they require a full block on which to spawn. So for now, this place is pretty safe, even though I've put torches around the place because I just like the builds to look like they're lit up. There really isn't a huge amount to worry about up here. So I am going to fill in the rest of this ceiling here and make it all basically the same as it is on that opposite side. I'm going to leave the central section pretty open because it's nice to have a feeling of height in the build. When you stand down here at this reception area and look straight up, you can see all the way to the roof slope down there, which I think is fantastic. And before I finish off the ceiling in here, I wanted to talk to you guys about these armor stands and show you what I'm going to do for the displays of armor here, which I think it would be a fun thing to do, and that's why I kind of want this to be the Blacksmiths Guild, because we can display armor on these stands, and it could be like the armor they're most proud of, the armor that they feel like, you know, they can be proud to display up here. Armor stands are kind of fun to play around with, actually, so they're worth covering for this series. To make them, you need a stone slab and 6 sticks arranged in this formation, like so. Imagine that you're making the frame of a person. You've got 2 arms either side there, a body there, and 2 legs either side. Imagine there's a head on the top there or something. But what you end up with is one of these. Armor stands are kind of weird entities. They're like anvils and gravel and stuff in that they're affected by gravity, but they are an entity that you can kind of swipe at with a sword in order to break it, like so, and you can move them around and juggle them a little bit in the same way that you can with mobs. So they are one of the more unique entities in the game, and their position is something that is a little bit mutable as well. It's something that can be changed quite a bit. So if you swipe at this armor stand with a sword, it's going to land on a slightly weird angle of the block. You can see there it's like on the center of those 4 blocks, and depending on which angle you swipe it at, you can actually position these armor stands in really interesting ways. As the name suggests, though, armor stands are here to wear your armor. Anything that can be equipped as armor in the player's inventory can be equipped to an armor stand, and that actually includes shields, even though armor stands don't by design come with any arms. They can actually have arms added to them by commands. In fact, there is a lot of posing and stuff you can do with armor stands with commands, but unfortunately, without the use of commands, that's not available to us in vanilla. There isn't an armor stand kind of posing GUI or anything like that. And you may have seen other YouTubers, other kind of people on servers and stuff like that, I'm thinking specifically of the folks on Hermitcraft, have a data pack installed where they can control armor stand's appearance with the use of a book. Now that is a data pack, that is not something that occurs naturally in the vanilla game, so if you've seen that, it's because they have a special module installed on their server that allows them to do that. It's not something that you can do in the vanilla game. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then don't worry about it for now. It's not something that we need to concern ourselves with just yet. So I'm going to fly back to the farmhouse where I think I still have a bunch of armor left over from when we first started this world. I think it should be in here. Yeah, here we go. We've got some enchanted stuff here that I'm fairly certain was some of the first armor that I ever wore. I don't know if I still have a chest plate anywhere. I don't seem to. Maybe that one ended up breaking. I have a diamond chest plate in there, but perhaps my iron chest plate ended up breaking in the end. Maybe we should make another one of those then if I've got the iron for it, which I'm sure I have. There we go. Plenty of iron here in the iron farm. I will grab a little bit of that because no doubt we will be making a little bit more armor to go in these displays. And while I'm here, I might hop down here and pay a visit to my armorer in here, who's actually got some chainmail armor that he can trade with us. Now, obviously, that's going to require us grabbing a few emeralds, so I'll grab some of those out of the storage system over here. I rather feel it would be nice to display one of each of the 5 sets of armor it's possible to get in the game, because we have a 5-block wide space over there to fill with armor stands, so we could use leather, gold, iron, chain and diamond armor in this display, and kind of maybe rank them in order of which is the most useful, kind of put the diamond one in the middle on a pedestal or something like that. And we could even end up trading with some of these armorers to get some different iron and diamond armor pieces if we wanted to, if I didn't want to spend some of my own diamonds on this. But I have a few diamonds to spare at this point, so we could always do that if we want to. But we'll grab a few chainmail pieces from this guy. There we go, that's one of each, and now I'll just throw the netherrack at him. Sorry, fella, just leave that to despawn in front of you. No worries. And I think, yeah, we can add the chainmail armor to one of our display armor stands, and then I'll show you the next trick, which is probably one of my favorite tricks in all of Minecraft, at least as far as interior design goes. So let's say we want the chainmail one to be this one here. I can click all of the chainmail onto him using right click. There we go. Fantastic. And now we're going to do a trick that involves pushing glass down over the top of him so that the armor stand is completely encased in glass. And this is something that's just going to require the use of a piston and something with which we can activate it. So I'll hop up here to place a block, and we'll place a piston facing downwards from that block, and I just threw away some of the buttons that I was going to use to activate this, so let's make a quick spruce button there. And if we put that on the side of this block, or if we can find a space to put it, there we go. Yes, once you activate this piston, the glass will push down over the top of the armor stand, and this won't affect the armor stand in any way. It's going to stay in exactly the same position because we're pushing it down from the top, so it's not like pushing it to the side or anything like that. And even though the arms of the sort of chain armor stick out of the side a little bit, that looks like the armor stand is, for all intents and purposes, inside a glass case. And we can do that for the armor all the way along here to make it into a kind of display case for each of these different sets of armor. I have to say, this looks even cooler thanks to the connected glass texture provided by Optifine, although even without Optifine connected glass on, it still looks pretty darn cool. So we're going to add this to each of these once we've got sets of armor in place, and we could even manage this at different elevations. For example, here where we've got these two either side resting on slabs. By the way, if you place a slab at the halfway position, at the half block position, and still you can place an armor stand there, and it will come to rest on that slab. They don't have to rest on a full block. In fact, armor stands, because they're affected by gravity in this way, can sort of be placed at all kinds of different heights. You could place one on top of one of the daylight sensors that we had earlier, if you like. But in this case, because we're pushing glass down onto it, it's going to be beneficial to have it all resting at a full block height, because otherwise the glass isn't going to push down fully onto it, and there's going to be a gap in there, which we don't necessarily want. So I think either side of this, we're going to have the leather armor there, maybe have the iron armor there. The diamond one can go in the middle, and that can actually go on a pedestal of its own. We'll add another spruce slab in the center here and kind of make it like an alternating display. We'll put it on the dark oak slab like so, because we want that to be in pride of place. It can be something nice and special. And then we'll put the chain and the gold ones on either side, because they are probably the least effective, give or take the leather one, I suppose. One of the other cool things you'll notice about armor stands as you work with them a little bit is that they have subtly different poses each time you place one down. You can actually pick one up and place it again if you want to get a slightly different pose, and that's usually just a matter of the head tilting subtly to one side, or them being kind of perfectly straight on, but the legs being ever so slightly askew, that kind of thing. They have like subtle little movements whilst still looking roughly the same. And sometimes if you want to use these for a certain effect, it can take a few different placements in order to get it right. Like this one, I think, is facing slightly to our left as we're looking at it here, and that one's looking slightly to the right. So you see they're slightly different each time, but it adds a little bit of character that way. But this is why I wanted to show you this before we put the rest of the daylight sensors in, because it would actually involve taking out a bunch of the daylight sensors just to refit all of this glass and stuff. So it makes more sense to do it now than to wait until later when we've got the roof there and we just need to take all of it back up again to wrangle these glass cabinets around. Also, because the daylight sensors might actually affect any pistons that we place up here like that. See? So that daylight sensor is actually not picking up any daylight, and it's activating some of the redstone around here. So we do need to probably remove those so that we can place the glass in here, and then once we've taken the pistons out, we'll be able to replace the daylight sensors again. And so rather than waste any of my own leather or gold on armor, what I figured I might do is come out here to the skeleton spawner where we have a bunch of gold armor waiting for us, and do a little bit of trading with my leather workers and stuff at the trading hall, because we have a whole bunch of emeralds that we can trade for some very, very cheap leather armor. I think these leather pants were 2 emeralds because we didn't have any leather pants waiting for us here. And this gold stuff we can take back with us, and that can be applied to another armor stand while we're over there. So that's that display all taken care of, and I've actually made a start on the one on the opposite side as well, which is going to be basically the same thing but mirrored, so that the gold one is there, the chain one is on the outside, and so forth. So this is how the Blacksmiths Guild is coming together, and I'm really, really happy with it. I think in the next episode we will actually start doing a little bit of wireframing for the town here, but I have some other projects I want to get to this week as well, so I hope you guys will look forward to those. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.